So why don't you first off give us your name, your affiliation, and kind of what your company does.
So I'm Lucinda Duncalfe. I'm founder and CEO of Real Food Works. And Real Food Works offers a subscription plan of healthy meals that are delivered to people's homes. And really the magic of our model is that the food is cooked by a network of local independent restaurants in their downtime. So we're using excess capacity that exists to provide a great service to consumers.
So you are in new office space in Philadelphia, which we'll ask you about. Why are you opening office space in Philadelphia? Why is Philadelphia kind of where you are?
Well, so we actually meandered around a bit. We had offices in New York, and we were out in the suburbs, and we really came to the conclusion that we wanted Philadelphia to build it as our model, as our home, as our headquarters. And if you're going to do that, we wanted to be where the action is. So we found this amazing space that you probably can't see clearly, which was an old gallery space. It's, one of the great things about Philadelphia is it's very affordable. So we have a lot of space. It's really cool space. It's in a good location. And so here we are, a key part of the Philadelphia community.
Yeah. So if you are hearing from maybe another startup or another entrepreneur in your kind of space where you already kind of developed who you are, but you're doing the customer acquisition game, and he or she's in a market that's not the Valley or perhaps not New York, and trying to make that decision of where they are, if they should go to a bigger market, they should go to the Valley. What are some kind of thoughts you'd offer about why it's valuable to perhaps stay in your home market, or what's challenging about it?
Yeah, so there definitely are both sides of the equation, right? I think if you think about the key things that you need to make a startup company go, a couple of the keys are, outside of what you bring to it yourself, people and money. And then you can think about the whole infrastructure, right? And infrastructure, there's your own company's infrastructure and then the community-wide infrastructure. And so if you run through those quickly, people, there's probably candidly a smaller pool of qualified people. On the other hand, they don't have as many other options. And so my experience has been you can absolutely get amazing people, and to a large degree, you sort of get the opportunity to be the bigger fish in a smaller pond, which means you're more attractive to people. You're not just one of 800 startups in Silicon Valley, you're one of the 10 that people know about and people want to come work for you. And then once they come, they don't leave, right? My experience is and I've worked in all those places, in both New York, Silicon Valley, and in Philadelphia, secondary kind of market. People in Philadelphia, at least, tend to be very mission-driven. So they're more in it for the company. You don't lose engineers, are hopping for another offer or the next job. So that's sort of one, people, which I think nets positive at the end of the day. Number two is money. Money often, candidly, you've got to go elsewhere to look, right? Philadelphia has been unbelievably supportive to Real Food Works. We have all of our investors except 3 are from the Philadelphia region. We've sort of got a combination of angel and venture money. So we've been super lucky, and I think you can do it. And again, if you get to be kind of a darling of the market, you can leverage that and get whatever investors there are, but they'll tend to be less of them. Then if you think about the ecosystem, I think that gets really important in our infrastructure. So we talked about our office space. I think that's a really critical element. It's just affordable. Because it's affordable to live here, it's more affordable to hire people. You can get really beautiful space. In New York, one desk costs you $700. I have 2,500 square feet. You just, it's a totally different world. And then the last is the ecosystem. And the ecosystem, I think, like the people, cuts both ways. It's a much more manageable community. It's a super supportive community. My experience is that the entrepreneurs in these kind of markets tend to be more supportive of each other and less competitive with one another. Flip side is there just isn't as much of it. Now, Philadelphia is an interesting case because we're really, I think, on this very steep uptick. So we have so much excitement here, and so much is happening that we get a lot of the benefits of a bigger sort of ecosystem, even if we don't have as many people or as many VCs or as many of the elements. So I think it cuts both ways. It sort of depends on what you want to be, who you want your company to be, where your customers are, all that sort of thing. So I think for any given company, it can be a good decision or a bad decision to stay.
So your story is really interesting because you've been involved in so many different startups throughout kind of Philadelphia's last 15, 20 years of technology community growth. Can you talk about perhaps some of the differences? Like, what has changed? Is the setting, is the benefit of the setting changed? Is Philadelphia seen as more likely, to be here to be successful than it would have in the past?
So I think there's first of all a foundation that is probably true in lots of markets like Philadelphia, but I know it's very true in Philadelphia that there's a core of startup companies or entrepreneurial ventures that aren't kind of the Silicon Valley type, right? So they may be getting friends and family money or angel money, but it's quiet money. It's not money that's posting all over AngelList and Twitter that this is where the funding came from. That it's more what I would call kind of real businesses, right? That really have a value prop. They're more traditional. Their goal is cash flow in a relatively reasonable amount of time. It's not to sell on eyeballs or subscribers or whatever. And I think that has been consistent through time. I think that's just a nature of Philadelphia as a market. But then if you look what's been on top of that, in the late 90s and the tech bubble that existed then, Philly was a great place. There was really the center at that point was Safeguard Scientifics and ICG. Those guys were investing in deals all over the place, but there was a very strong, Pete Musser in particular, had a very strong focus on giving to Philadelphia and on Philadelphia entrepreneurs. And so it was fun like it was fun everywhere else. It was a little fake probably, but it was great. And a lot of great companies were built then, and a lot of us who maybe weren't successful in that phase of this learned how to do it, right, from guys like Pete Musser. Now I think it's a much healthier ecosystem, actually. It's more spread out. It's actually more grassroots. So you see things like Seed Philly and Venture Forth. I think you look at First Round Capital, and they're a great new generation that is different from a Safeguard or a ICG. Similar in that they're really completely national and preeminent, right? There's no better seed investor probably in the world than those guys. But there's also a Philadelphia commitment, so that's consistent, right? But it's a new style, and so I think it's more of a grassroots bottom up. So it's not, the tech community isn't really driven any longer by companies like SunGard and the big guys. Siemens Health, which was whatever they were, what were they? That now it's more folks who are out here actually doing it and just starting things and being supportive of one another. The events, are gone crazy. It's like there used to be nothing. There used to be an event every 2 months. Now there's like 2 events a week, which is great. So you see the community kind of coming together and supporting it. So I think it's very, there's that common layer, but then there's this very different layer on top of it, that it was a little bit go-go and more concentrated. Now it's more spread and I think healthier, more grassroots